Hey, welcome back in today's video. The WWE, otherwise known as World Wrestling Entertainment, is a professional wrestling promotion that's brought you stars like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and many others. If you're like me, this place was a huge part of your childhood. Well, it turns out that there's stuff that we did not know. Not to mention these alleged horrible cover-ups date back to the 90s. Alleged cover-ups of unspeakably evil acts at the hands of those in power. Mainly the founder Vince McMahon, who seems to have contaminated the lives of many he's came into contact with. Janelle Grant just being one of these people. Some of these individuals have since unalived themselves, but the investigations are still ongoing. I'm a big believer of where there's smoke, there's fire, and when an alleged corrupt culture has said to have hurt so many people, well, it's something we need to talk about in today's video. This is the woman behind the most recent lawsuit, Janelle Grant. I think it's important that you see who this woman is, because a lot of the talk about the lawsuit doesn't put a name to the face. She's about 5'6", around 130 pounds. Vince McMahon, of course, is an American businessman and co-founder of the WWE, the world's largest professional wrestling promotion. Now, the details of this situation are absolutely disgusting, and when I say they're unspeakable, I am not over-exaggerating. Just to give you a heads up, I'll have to be censoring some of the words in this video so we can play it on YouTube. I want you guys to pay attention to your screen in this video because some of these things, well, they make me want to gag. The lawsuit filed January 25th of 2024 is in the United States District Court of Connecticut. It's Janelle Grant versus the WWE, Vincent K. McMahon, and John Laurinaitis. Now, something that's pretty concerning about this lawsuit is the fact the reactions from those within the corporation itself. Nobody seemed very surprised. And as we unfold this video, you're going to see things you've never heard, and you're going to see why no one was, in fact, surprised. In fact, Triple H, whose real name is Paul, and also the chief content officer of the WWE, pay attention to that, we're going to talk about that later, said something very interesting in response to the question, have you read the lawsuit?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do exactly what you would expect me to do here. Look, we just had an amazing week. I just said a 10-year, $5 billion Netflix deal. Rock joining our board. We just sold out the Royal Rumble, put 48,000 people in the Tropicana Field. I choose to focus on the positive. And yes, there's a negative, but I want to focus on that and just keep it to that.
That is not a good response. And keep in mind, Triple H is married to Vince McMahon's daughter. His friend Kevin Nash, another WWE Hall of Famer, actually defended Triple H saying this. Quoted saying, "My friend Triple H got harassed because he didn't in the middle of a Royal Rumble weekend. Didn't while he's trying to book 2 Women's Rumble and a Men's Rumble and the rest of the show. And moving forward along with the fact that one of their stars, 2 of their stars of the top 10 are now injured, that he didn't take the time to read the 63 pages that his father-in-law had already backed out of the company and said, I'm done." So just to make this clear here, Kevin Nash just said that Vince McMahon already backed out of the company and he was done. So why would Triple H need to even read the lawsuit? This is implying that the situation's resolved. But he also is quoted saying this, "If these things were done to me by a 77-year-old man, I wouldn't be looking for a payoff. I'd be looking for him to pass away in prison on criminal charges." So which is it? Is him quitting enough or is him passing away in prison enough? Because those are 2 entirely different things. Or will the reason change depending on who these people need to defend? You see, when researching this video, I discovered many hypocrisies like this that can only point, in my opinion, to one thing. Scentbird is supporting this channel by sponsoring this video. Back with another Scentbird sponsorship. This is something that you guys love, and I've got 3 new fragrances for you guys this month. These ones are very interesting. And as you guys already know, Scentbird allows you to pick new designer fragrances for only $17 a month. Just go to their website and select perfumes or colognes. You can select from new arrivals, best sellers, or go to all brands. There is a large collection of colognes and perfumes on this website. I brag about this cologne a lot. It's Versace Dylan Blue. It is my all-time favorite. It is one I got from Scentbird, in fact. The concept of Scentbird is really good. They send you samples that have a good bit of fragrance in them, and this prevents you from spending hundreds of dollars on colognes that you might not like, so you get to try out different ones. I've found so many different colognes using this service, and I've heard from you guys your different experiences, and I love to hear them. So when it comes in the mail, it comes in these type of packaging, and you just flip it over and spray. And this is what it looks like when you open up the bottle. As you can see, there's a lot of liquid in there. And each fragrance comes with a card, and on the back of the card, it breaks down the notes of fragrances that are in it. Awaken by 8 GMT. This is the Awaken. Let's try it. Interesting. I smell the cedar. It's got cedar notes in there. Very interesting. Sentier Odgaic. Oof. See, I'm glad I could have spent like $80 to $100 on that bottle. Glad I didn't. Avant Quintessence. It smells like my grandma. I love my grandma. So I think it's really important to note that these last over a month. I still have many of the ones I've had from previous sponsorships that I can just spray on and like have a little bit of variety as I go. But since you're here, use code 55Repzilla for 55% off your first month. And just like every other time we've had this sponsorship, I want to know the fragrances that you guys have got. Let me know in the comment section below. That being said, thank you to Scentbird for sponsoring the channel again. You see, when researching this video, I discovered many hypocrisies like this that can only point, in my opinion, to one thing. It's that these people knew about Vince. How much they knew, I'm not sure, but they knew about Vince and are choosing to protect each other, which the lawsuit claims. Number 22 of the lawsuit, unsurprisingly, others at WWE knew what was going on, but instead of intervening to protect Miss Grant, WWE actively sought to conceal the wrongdoing. This is quite interesting because it seems to be a pattern of behavior. In a sworn affidavit her lawyer released in 2019, after her passing, former wrestler Ashley Massaro said that she was injected with a paralyzing drug and someone R-worded her, representing themselves as a U.S. Army doctor. It was said that McMahon and Laurinaitis knew about this and told her not to talk about the incident and agreed to not talk about it themselves, in part to preserve the company's relationship with the military. Quoted saying, "He told me not to let one bad experience ruin the good work they were doing." And that's very interesting when you take into account the NDAs, non-disclosure agreements that McMahon had women sign, so they would not talk about the situations where they were SA'd. According to the Wall Street Journal, at least 4 women who had been signed to NDAs were named in a grand jury subpoena. Along with the women named were former WWE wrestler who said McMahon coerced her into giving him downstairs satisfaction, and a former WWE employee who alleged that the head of talent relations at the company at the time, John Laurinaitis, demoted her after she broke off an affair with him, both of whom the Journal previously reported to have agreed to 7-figure settlements with NDAs attached. That's a whole lot of NDA, and I think that you, the people, need to know this. Number 24 in the lawsuit says that McMahon put Miss Grant under immense pressure to sign, guess what, an NDA. And again, how could these people not know? There was well-established smoke dating back to the 1990s. In the lawsuit 254, McMahon's ABUSC of Miss Grant did not come to a surprise to anyone in the WWE because he had faced numerous prior accusations of misconduct, including a 1994 former WWE referee, Rita Chatterton, alleged that McMahon had REPE'd her after luring her into a limousine. There was a February 2006 incident and a 2011 incident.
And now, here you are being accused, Mr. McMahon, of presiding over an organization that looked the other way while these sex harassment charges were being sex harassment activity was taking place. Sir, you wanted to say.
We've never looked the other way.
Up until now, you've been animately denying that not only this is taking place, but that, and you're saying that you knew nothing of it, and I just find that really difficult to believe.
Well, there's no reason. How do you find it difficult to believe that I knew nothing of it? Why would I condone this kind of activity and risk this alleged kind of revenue?
Because Vince, because you are the king of an empire and you have eyes and ears everywhere, and it is so common, at least the topic of conversation for 3 to 5 minutes every night in the dressing room, because a lot of the guys, they have to put up with it and they hate it because if they say anything, they're out of a job.
Keep in mind that this situation here was decades ago. That was former wrestler Barry Orton questioning McMahon, asking him and telling him about the situations of terrible conversations that he would have in the locker rooms among the hallways of the WWE. It was alleged by Orton that he was also essayed by people within the organization. The pattern is established, as you'll see in this video. And by the way, Triple H didn't even need to read the current lawsuit because in 2022, according to the Wall Street Journal, the Board of World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc. investigated a secret $3 million settlement that longtime chief executive Vince McMahon agreed to pay to a departing employee with whom he allegedly had an affair, according to documents and people familiar with the board inquiry. Also in this inquiry, the Wall Street Journal reported a month later that Vince McMahon had agreed to more than $12 million over the past 16 years to suppress alleged things of SA misconduct and infidelity, an amount far larger than previously known. The payouts went to 4 women, all formerly affiliated with the WWE, who signed agreements with McMahon that prohibit them from discussing potential legal claims against their relationships with the 76-year-old executive. And just to be clear, the former was about Janelle Grant. She was the one that he agreed the $3 million secret hush money to which he only paid $1 million. Even more shocking is the person who directly helped with this investigation was Stephanie McMahon, Triple H's wife. Number 28 of the lawsuit says that the WWE released a statement in June 2022 to announce that a special committee of its board of directors was investigating the alleged misconduct and appointing of Stephanie McMahon as interim CEO and interim chairwoman, which she publicly affirmed that she was going to do everything in her power to implement its findings. She also declared the importance of a safe and collaborative workspace. Now, obviously, just based on the things that I've presented in this video thus far, that's not true. Number 30 in the lawsuit says, in November 2022, WWE touted the conclusion of the special committee investigation into misconduct. Yet the special committee never even bothered to interview Ms. Grant or request any documents, despite Ms. Grant stating that she would cooperate. This might be a contributing factor as to why Triple H had no want to read this lawsuit. It's probably because he already knew what it was about, because this was a year before the lawsuit. So what this says to me is these people are either the stupidest individuals in the known universe, or they're lying. This points to the industry itself systematically and culturally having major issues, if that wasn't already clear. One anonymous source spoke out about Triple H saying, "He's the effing cerebral assassin. Best politicking dude in history. Literally wormed his way from a green entry-level wrestler into a still average wrestler, absolute top of the office executive. You think he doesn't pay attention to what's going on around him?" And this makes sense. After all, Triple H is literally the person who oversees creative writing, talent relations, live events, talent development, and creative services. It's literally his job to know what everyone's doing. And that being said, we need to talk about what these people are trying to, or what it seems like, hide. First off, again, this is Janelle Grant. All things I'm about to say are from this current alleged lawsuit. And brace yourself for impact. You're not ready for this. Janelle and Vince apparently met in 2019 when Janelle was jobless and suffering the loss of her parents. This is important for later. Vince lived at the top of her apartment complex in a penthouse, and she lived within the same apartment building, and she was taking care of her parents. They were introduced after her parents passed away because she was in a difficult spot where the apartment manager thought maybe Vince could help, to which she was like enthusiastically, "Heck yes, I will help." And then they had a meeting. 55 in the lawsuit says at the end of the meeting, McMahon told Miss Grant that he didn't just want to give her a job, but give her a life, and that he would find a place for her at the WWE. Stunned, Miss Grant said that she didn't know how to thank him for possibly just changing my life. McMahon responded with a simple thank you is enough, and that he'd accept a hug. They stood and embraced. A lot more happened than that hug, and the lawsuit lays out the progression of this relationship and just how it formed into the despicable, horrible mess that it did. I'm going to put the lawsuit in the description if you want to read it, but warning, it's not for the faint of heart. Vince eventually coerced her into helping to sign wrestlers to the organization with her body. This is called, just look at your screen here. On one occasion, he pressured her into having a three-way with his physical therapist. That's strange. And made it very clear that if she did not do this, maybe her job wasn't going to be so secure. Following this event on May 11th of 2020, McMahon sent an explicit message to Miss Grant that further detailed his fantasies of seeing her engage in, honestly, some really just not great things. I can't read this message due to the graphic nature, but I will post it on the screen here so you guys can pause to check it out. YouTube will not let you explain the details of things like this. 139 in the lawsuit, McMahon then pressured Miss Grant into several additional three-ways, in large part because she felt she had no choice, particularly after McMahon's comments that he had personally ensured that she had not lost her job. When Janelle attempted to end this type of relationship with Vince, he flat out refused. Number 92 in the lawsuit saying McMahon refused, saying this was not ending. It did not need to, and that he did not ever envision it ending. He reminded her that he trusted her, reiterated that rumors would lead to trouble, probed whether her silence would be an issue, and brushed off her concerns that she was struggling with the feeling that her job felt unearned. McMahon told Miss Grant that all she needed to do was not tell anyone. It just has to look legit. And when she would express mental health issues, he would apparently use her family against her. McMahon then spun conversations and told Miss Grant to focus on the positives and embrace that her life was about to change, saying, "Isn't that what you've always wanted?" McMahon manipulatively emphasized that she's about to start an adventure and gain a new family with the WWE as a surrogate for the family that she had lost. Jesus Christ. This next text message we're going to go over, I cannot read it again, but you can pause to read the screen. It shows the sadistic nature of Vince McMahon. This is likely the most evil, grotesque thing I've ever... This is not good. 142 in the lawsuit says after three ways began, McMahon became more sadistic and his fantasies focused on control, such as choking, sensory deprivation, pain, humiliation, and group scenarios in which Miss Grant was to be physically overwhelmed. On one occasion, he instructed Miss Grant to not knock on the door because if he sees her, he's going to RAPE her in the hallway. And this was something that was alleged to actually have happened. And another thing that factors in that a lot of people in the industry knew about this was the fact that via his own text messages, he was telling everyone about this. Vince says, "I just passed my phone around to a bunch of guys on the tech crew. They were screaming, 'Oh my God, she's effing beautiful. Look at that ASS. I'd like to get that.' I paused to count out loud how many guys there were, 12, and then said, okay, there's 12 of you, and she would love to blank each and every one of you at one time." You guys can read the rest of this if you so wish. Again, this is reflective of what Billy Orton said. Let's go back to the 1990s.
Why would I condone this kind of activity and risk this alleged kind of revenue?
Because Vince, because you are the king of an empire and you have eyes and ears everywhere, and it is so common, at least the topic of conversation for 3 to 5 minutes every night in the dressing room, because a lot of the guys, they have to put up with it and they hate it because if they say anything, they're out of a job.
So as you can see, this kind of behavior tracks. And again, where there's smoke, there's probably fire. This is alleged. On several occasions, Janelle was injured very badly. 148 in the lawsuit says, on occasions when Miss Grant informed McMahon that she was physically injured during their encounters, McMahon's response varied from apologies to non-accountable pushback and blaming impulse control. When encounters were particularly brutal, Miss Grant learned to bookend the truth of her injuries with compliments to create the least amount of pushback from McMahon. Some of these injuries would include bleeding, swelling, bruising, and spans of incontinence resulting from McMahon's forceful use of his fists, toys, objects unsafe for doing anything with, if I'm honest. And just so you are aware, I didn't know what the word incontinence meant. It's the lack of voluntary control over urination and defecation. We'd even have alleged evidence of him setting up schedules for Janelle. Blank called me this afternoon begging to blank and blank you with his nice blank. She says, give me another week, baby, and I'll be ready. I'm feeling more like myself. It's not great, but it's getting better. Tell him soon. He says, I already told him, baby. By the way, Johnny wants Tuesdays, but not this coming one, and the occasional Saturday, but maybe I can shift it to Thursday nights. Johnny would like all the above. Jesus. 159 in the lawsuit says texts like this, a shift schedule, caused Miss Grant to suffer breakdowns over how her original hope for a new life had been reduced to an objectified and dehumanized existence with no way out. And remember what we said earlier about John Laurinaitis, who's also named in the lawsuit? Well, number 21 in the lawsuit says in June 2021, McMahon and defendant Laurinaitis SA'd Miss Grant inside Laurinaitis' office in WWE headquarters while colleagues were busy at their desks. Behind locked doors, the two men cornered her and pulled her in, and obviously, I can't read the rest of this. She said stop, and they said no means yes. As time went, these events became more systematic. 169 of the lawsuit says McMahon also indicated April 2nd, 2021 that Miss Grant should obey Laurinaitis if he wanted to bring in yet more men. Pause to read this. And I think it's very important to note that this woman had her job dangled over her head at every moment, even through mistakes that would have been no fault of her own. 180 says panic that someone else's mistake could cost Miss Grant her livelihood left her feeling hopeless and afraid of what would happen if McMahon's mood shifted, leading her to message him expressions of loyalty, love, and submission as a coping mechanism, and with the hope that he would protect her. Vince says those compliments will just keep coming, baby. Just wait and see. I totally understand and agree of being scared of communication and photos. Johnny Laurinaitis gets drunk and sloppy and could easily make a mistake and could cost him his job and yours too. Verbal communication is the way to go. That said, have you and Johnny talked about breakfast tomorrow? Again, trying to get back into some sort of inappropriate conversation. We haven't discussed anything at all. It's up in the air. Johnny complained about getting a new phone and it just arrived. I haven't set up time to coordinate setting it up with IT because I need him to assure me that he's erased everything he's ever saved. Truly, I regret that he ever got pics. It's not worth the stressing I'm feeling. I'm done with it. This next alleged situation apparently has to do with Brock Lesnar, who in the lawsuit is called WWE Superstar. Janelle was asked to be used in negotiations for him to re-sign his contract. This is, of course, illegal. 198 of the lawsuit says in December 2021, McMahon gave Miss Grant's personal cell phone number to a WWE superstar and promised she'll do anything requested of her. This is apparently Vince McMahon to Brock Lesnar. He says, here's what Blank said after I told him you're part of the deal. He said, that's your turf. She will be ruined after me and leave you. Plus, after my tool, yours won't fit anymore. Laughing face emojis. Now, these alleged texts between Janelle and Brock, well, they're not good. In the days that followed, WWE Superstar revealed a fetish to Miss Grant and tested McMahon's promise that Miss Grant would do anything with the request that she send a video of her urinating. 200, it says, unable to recognize herself, Miss Grant went numb and obeyed. WWE Superstar informed Miss Grant if she had not complied with his request, that WWE Superstar would have lost any interest in her and then called her the B word. In that same month that they exchanged, they set dates to meet up, but actually never did because of a snowstorm at that time. Lawsuit says Janelle ultimately used the weather and sickness as an excuse to back out. And the alleged signs that WWE Superstar is actually Brock Lesnar are said to be because the WWE is currently erasing him from their platform. One article saying WWE wipes Brock Lesnar completely amid involvement in Vince McMahon scandal. It's saying in some leaked texts he wrote to her, Vince appears to use her as a bait in order to bring Brock Lesnar back from retirement. He specifically tells her the only way to convince her is to engage in relations with him. One tweet saying that Brock Lesnar's merchandise has been removed from WWE's Euro shop following Lesnar's alleged involvement with the alleged things against Vince McMahon. His merchandise currently remains on the US store, but most items are discounted. Let's actually go see. It's absolutely true. Most of the Brock Lesnar merchandise is reduced in price. So if you were looking for them Brock Lesnar socks, they're only $8. something that's crazy to me is if you put the WWE in the search engine, you have most everybody talking about WrestleMania and stuff, and it seems like this should definitely be overshadowing WrestleMania. Like, this should be like the dark cloud of truth and justice. So I think that it's important, if you guys want to help spread this video, to engage with it. Subscribing, liking, commenting down below. Comment a positivity turtle in the comment section below. We haven't done that in a while. I would like to see walls and walls of green because it seems relevant in a story like this. And if you thought it couldn't get any worse, it does. Make no mistake about it. These people, they are not like me and you. This next screenshot is labeled poop, okay? So you can read into that all you want. I'm not even sure if I can read this. I'll try. Heavily censored. Number 20 of the lawsuit. As one example of McMahon's extreme depravity, on May 9th, 2020, he went to bathroom on Janelle during a inappropriate act, and then commanded her to keep having fun with his friend with stuff in her hair and running down her back. I don't know if that cut will make it to the final video, but if it does, God help us. And honestly, every individual that ever wrestled under Vince McMahon should be absolutely, disturbed, because 110 of the lawsuit says that Vince named his toys so that the color of the toy matched the race of the wrestler. For example, a black one would be named after an African American, and a white one after Caucasian. In addition to McMahon's infatuation with pretending that other men, namely certain WWE talent, were in the room with them, this was yet another incremental step in desensitizing Miss Grant to his fantasy. So this dude was naming wrestlers that he knew after... I can't. Former wrestler Maria Kanellis says, all the news coming out is horrible. Many of us experienced or heard rumors of different levels of evil for years. Some tried to speak up to build momentum to change the culture in WWE. Many times we've been called bitter or crazy. Others have been paralyzed by fear. I just hope justice is served, and I hope this brings some people peace. I pray for all of the people that are involved, the ones that have spoke up and the ones that are no longer with us, and the ones who have suffered in silence. Another former WWE star, Ryback, says Vince McMahon will go down as one of the most evil human beings to have ever existed. And there is far worse to come out about him, and many others still in the company who also know much of his activity. It's all going to come out if they keep looking. They've hidden everything with non-disclosure agreements, which those obviously do not matter. So this is a terrible story. So if you've come this far, I am going to open up the new fundraiser for this year. We're going to do Rain again. We've risen tens of thousands of dollars over the years for this platform. It helps people who have been in difficult situations like these. So it will be the right on desktop, below on mobile, and we're going to get to 5K this year. Maybe if we surpass it, we'll keep going. If you have donated, let me know in the comment section below, because as interesting as this is, or something more interesting to me, that's right, you guessed it, I want to know what you think. So why don't you go ahead and leave your creative and interesting responses in the comment box below. Thumbs up for those likes as always, brothers and sisters. I will see you in the next video. Thank you to my patrons for your continued and ongoing support. I really appreciate you. If you do want to support this channel, YouTube demonetization happens frequently. It's not great. And supporting through Patreon is one of the best ways to support the channel. Also, thanks again to Scentbird. Remember to use code 55Repzilla at checkout. I just posted new pictures on Instagram. I'm going to be more active over there. We're currently almost at 15,000 followers. If you guys want to help me get to that goal, we'll have DMs open over there. So just give me a little bit and I should be able to get back to everyone. Any topics that you want me to talk about or suggestions, let me know in the DMs over there. That being said, that's just another way to show that you're repping. And if you're not repping, you're Gregging. How you do that? I'll get a subscribe notification on, be in the comment section of every single video, because I'm going to be there. Greg the Cat's going to be there in spirit, and the rest of the Rep Squad community as well. And I expect to see that too, because this channel always loves you.